Mensuri Gakusei. Thank you for tuning in to Mizuchi Dojo Radio. Normally, every week, we feature discussions between the best martial arts in Western New York on a variety of martial arts concepts. But this week, I'm going to be sharing with you all an interview that we had with a 10th degree black belt in Okinawa, Japan. Recently, in May, myself, a couple of my students, as well as their family, journeyed with me to Japan. We arrived in Tokyo, made our way down to Kyoto, and eventually, after some other sightseeing, we ended up in Naha, Okinawa, and had the great pleasure of training at the Kenshikai Dojo. The man who served as our main instructor, Kakazu Yoshimasa, is a 10th dan in Shorin-ryu. He's also the president of the Kenshikai Dojo, a black belt in Kempo, and is studied but not ranked in Goju-ryu. He also is the vice chairman of the Okinawa Karate and Kobudo Federation. Also serving as our host and translator and, I guess, master of the experience was Ueda Kenjiro, or Kenny, CEO of Ageshio Japan Company, which specializes in karate tourism. So I'd highly recommend checking out Ageshio Japan Company if you're interested in having your own Okinawa training experience. And of course, special thanks needs to go to Furugen Reiko Sensei, Vice President of the Kenshikai Dojo. Before I move on to playing the recording of the interview, which sadly the microphone that I was using did not pick it up very well. It's only a couple minutes long if you want to tough it out. It was interesting, very interesting to me. And what I will share is some of my own reflections, though, first about what it was to have trained in Okinawa. The first major takeaway was that I chose a Shorin-ryu school because the choice was, I think, a Goju-ryu, Shorin-ryu, or Shito-ryu. And as I trained for much of my martial arts experience in Isshin-ryu, I chose Shorin-ryu because it is the, I guess you could say, the mother of Isshin-ryu, the origin point. And what I teach now in my school, Mizuchi-do, is a derivative of Isshin-ryu. So it seemed like it would be the best way to get a sense of how far or how little we've moved away from what could be considered original, traditional Okinawan karate. And I was very happy to see that we're pretty much in Buffalo at the Mizuchi Dojo, right on target, I think, with how things are practiced even to this day, at least with regard to Shorin-ryu in Okinawa. So influential were some of the experiences that I had training with them was that it led me to make some changes, not only to this podcast, which you may now notice we have some Okinawan words as a part of the intro that are more consistent with the culture of the Okinawans, I believe, and also some words towards the end. So Mensuri Gakusei, which is sort of Mensuri is their way of saying welcome. And then at the end, when we say Mate Yasai, that's sort of like, farewell and hope to see you again in the fairly near future type of thing. But also, I actually changed our bow to now recognize the Okinawan style for bowing. So I changed my Mizuchi-do because I really felt like, okay, we're really in line with Okinawans here, and I want to recognize that connection. So we changed our bow to include an Okinawan element that is very iconic for the way that they bow. But I think the biggest takeaway and the biggest affirmation of how we already train at the Mizuchi Dojo was that their emphasis was specifically not about being able to be an Olympic level sport, and maybe sort of explains why they only showed up in the Olympics in Japan. Not only did they emphasize more than once that they don't train for sport, they don't train for competition, they train karate, which I think was their way of saying, sort of like we feel at Mizuchi Dojo, We train for the self-defense aspects of this art, the martial nature of it, versus trying to fluff it up and make it look spectacular, earn points, get awards. Not on purpose anyway, but certainly that's not how we're training. We're not training to fulfill any kind of expectations for what excites audiences. We're training to what would be the best for ourselves in both our health and our ability to defend ourselves. So that was really validating to get that. But there were some other interesting things that I hope you can pick up out of the interview. Some of it, unfortunately, is really blurred out by artifacts of sound because the microphone, since my microphone wasn't working, the microphone on the camera was, and it was just too far away from us. I will raise up the volume as best I can. You'll probably have to raise the volume up, and I'll try to give you a warning, but when the interview's over, so you can bring it down again. I don't know. I'm sorry about that. But I also think it'd be a waste if you don't get to hear it. So please give it a listen if you can, and let us know what you think. There's some very interesting points he makes. I think my favorite is at the end where I just ask, how do you sort of like get people into the spirit of karate? That usually in most American karate schools there's some form of starting off the class with some sort of saying or ceremony, but most definitely there's some sort of recitation of a dojo philosophy or dojo kun at the end, and they didn't have that there. It was a lot more laid back. I think also interesting is that they would train really hard for 5 minutes, and then they would take like a 5-minute break. And we did this like repeatedly throughout the whole thing as we like practiced basics and forms. But then also there was a break close to 2/3 through where they had tea and cakes. I wish I could think to introduce that into my own school. I just don't have a kitchen. I guess that's my excuse. But very different, more casual, laid back in a way, a type of manner of going through training. But when it comes to this idea of reciting some sort of philosophy at the end of class, what he said to me essentially, this is my interpretation, you can certainly listen and get your own interpretation, but what I think he said was essentially, we expect people to come in with this attitude of like, do a good job, and you're doing this to better yourselves and to I guess help others, and that's why we train, and you just are supposed to come with this very healthy attitude towards training in the martial arts, and not needing to be reminded what are those principles, what are those values. That you should sort of already have them in your heart. Okay, without further ado, here is my interview with Kakazu Yoshimasa Sensei, with translations provided by our interpreter, Tako. Okay. Recording? Okay. Thank you very much for having us teach with you today. That was learn, and that was a wonderful experience to see the origin style for karate.
貴重な稽古の経験させていただき本当にありがとうございます。空手の起源であるShorin-ryuのスタイルを勉強できて本当に嬉しく思っています。
A real honor to train with all of you. We were so excited to be here, and this was just wonderful.
楽しみにしていて今日本当にこれでよかったです。嬉しいです。はい、ありがとう。
The questions I had were about Okinawan tradition in karate. We only have like what we can read out of books, so I was hoping you would maybe answer some questions from your personal experience. First, like Tode karate thing, or and you told me earlier you've been training since you were 17. What got you into training in karate? Was it a family tradition or a personal interest?
空手を行ったきっかけって何だったんですか？それは家族の影響か、それとも自分の興味で始めたものなのか。
自分の興味。簡単に言えば強くなれてたんです。
The personal interest. He wanted to get stronger when he was like 17 years old.
And then the other questions I just had, because I know we don't have much time, is that As you know, we do a podcast, which this will go on, and I wanted to hear some traditional Okinawan ways of like greeting people into class and saying goodbye or to finish. If there's any Okinawan words that are used, or is it or Japanese?
When you finish the class?
Like when you start the class, do you say like welcome to the students, or is it just let's get started? What are the commands, I guess, or the greetings?
結構始まるときと終わるときに何かこの沖縄のなんか言葉でなんか挨拶とかあったんですかっていう質問なんですけど。
現在ですか？
始まりと終わり。
何でもない。スタートの時ね、いや別の今日一日に生きてることに感謝してね、今から始めますということです。
There's not a specific Okinawan language, but like when we start the class, also finish the class,
理解していただいてね。はい。
we live in, we can live, we are alive, that we appreciate the fact, you know, that we can be alive today. Also, we are able to do karate lesson with everybody, and then let's appreciate that fact with everybody else, and then let's do karate training session.
They will say that, or oh, okay.
The meaning behind it. So we don't actually say it.
No special
but
words.
like
Oh, it's in the head, in the heart. Okay.
Sensei's heart.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again. That's very helpful for us and everything we learned today. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。
Okay. はい。Thank you. 頑張って。
頑張って。Do your best.
Every day 空手毎日練習。Okay.
Do karate training every day.
Yes. Okay, and there you have it. Thank you, Kakazu Yoshimasa Sensei, as well as Tako, for your interpretation. It was just a wonderful experience altogether, and we gained a lot of valuable insights. And with that, I'll say, Yame. Thank you, listeners, for your attention. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic, and you can share them to our threads, Mizuchi_Dojo, or you can email us at mizuchi.dojo.hanbu@gmail.com. Also, please consider supporting this podcast by subscribing via our Patreon. For $1 a month, you'll not only help keep this podcast on the air, but our dollar subscribers can vote on what topic they want the panel to discuss in the next recording session. Higher contributors can have their feedback read on air, and even higher contributors can get a regular shout-out for the martial arts school of their choice. You can find more information at our show notes, as well as our Patreon page. Mata Yasai.